The Euro Yard back today, and we want to talk about the Televote. The Televote, of course, since the 2025 Eurovision Song Contest came to an end, has been the topic of some debate. There are some countries that are not particularly happy with how the televote seems to be going. The system by which the televotes are cast and then counted. Numerous countries have raised concerns. There have been a lot of Euro fans out there who have raised concerns. So, you know what? We can't reinvent the wheel in one day. We can't solve all of the problems that people have when it comes to the televote. But what we can do is maybe talk about some alternatives or some reforms. So what we decided to do today is to do a live demonstration of what a ranked choice televote would look like. Now, of course, under the current system, the European Broadcasting Union, who organizes the Eurovision Song Contest, they make it very easy for people out there in TV land to pull out a couple of credit cards and plunk literally dozens of votes on one country, if they so prefer. Now, people can split their votes. You can, if you have 20 votes per credit card, you can put 10 here, 5 here, 5 there. But some people don't. Some people put all 20 on one country. So because of that, the concept of a ranked choice ballot has been floated as a way of potentially reforming the system. But would it work? So what we're going to do is we're going to explain how it works and then assess the pros and cons. So first, let's just start by explaining the current system, because I think in order to do the ranked choice voting demonstration, it would help first to see how things work now. As of now, you can vote 20 times per credit card, and no, the EBU does not accept cash. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody has asked that question, but no, where would you send it? So out of those 20 votes that you can get per payment method, you can use them all. You don't have to use all 20. You can scatter those votes however you want. As long as you don't vote for your own country, wouldn't be a problem for me. But, of course, you can also drop all 20 votes on the same country as we just established. So now in a grand final where you have 25 or 26 countries participating, these are all first past the post elections, which means the country that gets the most votes wins, even if it's 20% of the vote. And that means it can take a small percentage of votes in order to win and get a televote dues point out of a country. Some would also say that when countries are out there promulgating a coordinated televote campaign at the taxpayer's expense, then it is easily susceptible to manipulation, and this is what has some people concerned. So one possible solution is this ranked choice ballot, whereas people can still vote X number of times, but they would have to cast a ranked choice ballot. You'd have to list a country first, a country second, country third, so on and so forth. Now, what is that? And we will get a little bit more into this. I just gave a very, very high-level overview of it a second ago. Our friends in Australia would probably be able to explain it to you very well, because this is how their federal elections have worked for many decades. And yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like. You have all of the options in front of you. You award first place. You award second place, third place, fourth place, fifth place, and on down the list. You could require at least a top 5 or allow people to go all the way to a top 10. The question that we want to answer when we do this live simulation here is if it would actually make a difference to the end result, or if it would just make people feel better, make people feel like we reformed something. Because if it doesn't affect the result, then why even do it? All right, so here we're going to start with a simulation of the traditional televote. So here are the 26 countries that contended in the 2025 Grand Final. We're putting them right now in the order which they performed. Now, everything that you're going to see here is randomized. Any votes, any points that you see from this point forward, they were randomly generated. We're not showing favoritism or lack of favoritism to any country. This is just how it fell. So to start, for the sake of ease, let's just take 1,000 votes. That's going to be what we're working with, 1,000 votes. And we're going to give them to random countries for obvious reasons. So here they are. Here are the points. You've got Latvia in front with 150, then Armenia with 140, Denmark with 130, and then on down the list, Lithuania 90, and then much smaller amounts after that. So the plurality of votes here went to Latvia, Armenia, and Denmark. Now we're going to put up on the screen reorganizing them in order of the number of votes that they got. We just went through it. Here they are. So under the current system, 1 vote is 1 point. You're not assigning a value of points to each country, just handing them a vote. And so what does that mean? Latvia won by 10 votes. It's deuce point. And then Armenia has 10 points, Denmark 8, Lithuania 7, Albania 6, Poland 5, on down the list. We will revisit this because we're going to compare the ranked choice simulation to the traditional one in a moment. So again, just to recap what the traditional vote does. You can vote up to 20 times right now per payment method. You cannot vote for your own country. That will never change. Again, a first past the post election, plurality rules, raw vote, the country with the most votes wins. They get the deuce point. At present, and here's why this is important, because at present, the public vote accounts for 100% of the points allocated in the semifinals, both the first and second semifinals. And it also accounts for just over 50% of the grand finals share of points. So the televote really is very important right now. And you can understand why people would think that it's important to get this right. All right, so now we're going to begin the simulation of the ranked choice ballot. So what we've decided we're going to do is we're going to go 4 rounds. We could go more. We could have gone 5. We could have gone 10. But I think that after we go 4 rounds, you'll have gotten the point. But first, let's talk about how a ranked choice ballot would work. The public would select its top 10 songs and rank them in order 1 through 10. Point values would be assigned to each based on the ranking using the conventional Eurovision point system 12, 10, 8 through 1. You know it well. There are the points on the screen just to give you a visualization of how it would work. Of course, 12 points for each first place vote. So the sum total of first place points through 10th place points is a country's final score. Again, when we go through the simulation, this will make more sense. The country with the most points receives the public's deuce point, then 10, 8, and so on. It goes without saying that countries getting a larger share of first, second, and third place votes are going to do better overall than countries that don't. All right, so here we go. Let's start the ranked choice simulation. We're going to zero out all of the point totals to my side here. Now let's imagine, we'll put up the first place votes again. Let's imagine that all of these first place votes that you see over here are worth 12 points each. So multiply them all by 12, and this is what you end up with. Latvia, of course, in first with 1,800, then Armenia at 1,680, Denmark 1,560, Lithuania 1,080, and on down the list. Now you see it takes a relatively low number of points, only 360 to get into the top 10. Now, those countries that are down there, Sweden, France, and Portugal, will they stay in the top 10 as we go through the simulation? Well, we're going to find out. So now, before we go any further, why does this matter? So for the second part of the example, if you're going to do a ranked choice vote, then you're going to assign point values to each country. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that this system requires each voter to rank their top 10. So you're giving them 12 points, 10 points, 8 points through 1 point each. What you see on the screen now are all the points based off of the first place votes. Now let's remind you how many first place votes each country got. And now what we're going to do, we're going to put up another screen, and this is where we're going to show our work. We're going to come back to this a few times. As you can see, Latvia in first, 150 votes, which translates to 1,800 points. On down the list, down to 13, Austria has 20 votes, which is 240 points. That is a running point total in yellow all the way to the right side. Speaking of the right side, we go to the right side of the scoreboard. Germany in 14th. They're also at 240, going all the way down to the Netherlands, who in this first place simulation only got 5 votes, which is 60 points. So already you can tell that some of these countries are well out of the running for the 12 points. But it's not necessarily impossible that some of them could still surge, getting a lot of second, third, or fourth place votes and moving up into the top 10. So here they are again. These are the points after the first place votes. Latvia in the lead at 1,800. But now what we're going to do is we're going to clear the board, because now we're moving on to second place votes. Remember, there are 1,000 of them. So with the random draw, let's assign those second place votes. And here's how they fell. Armenia, you can see they got quite a bit more than the second one, which was Denmark. Armenia got 190 of them. Denmark 130, Latvia only 100. And these are worth 10 points each. So when you add the second place votes to the first place votes, well, already we have a new leader. It's Armenia. They're well out in front with 3,580 points. Denmark actually moved into second with 2,860, just in front of Latvia, who are at 2,800. Lithuania and then Albania round out the top 5, and you can see the points are starting to fill, and there's maybe a little bit of movement below. For example, Israel didn't do as well in this category, so they moved down below the top 10, allowing Germany to move in. And now back to the screen where we're going to show our work. Armenia, of course, they're in front. 1,680 plus 1,900 is 3,580. You look at, for example, Albania, 720 plus 200 equals 920. Now, if they had gotten more second place votes, they might have been able to challenge Lithuania for fourth place. Didn't happen. Germany, of course, we just said they moved into the top 10. They are tied with Iceland. So we're only from here on going to show you the top 10 because, you know, it's a lot of data and we don't want to throw too much at people. This is enough as it is. So once again, we're going to move on to third place votes in a minute, but we're going to refresh you on where the points stand through the first 2 rounds. So remember, each country got 12 points per first place vote. They got 10 points per second place vote. So what does this mean? We're going to move on to third place votes, and each of the votes that you see are going to be worth 8 points each. So we're going to zero out the board here, and now here are the third place votes as drawn randomly. And again, Denmark doing well, but Latvia getting 180 of them as well. Armenia only getting 90. So you can already see that this is going to cause another big shift in the numbers. We'll put those up in a minute. Albania there getting 130 times 8. That's going to be a lot of points for them. So now let's move on, adding all the points together, first, second, and third place points. And here are the scores now. Armenia and Denmark are tied for first at 4,300. And Latvia is right behind them, very close behind at 4,240. There's a pretty big gap between the top 3 and number 4, which is now actually Albania. They leapfrogged Lithuania here into fourth place. But as you can see, Israel moved back up into the top 10. France dropped out. So there's a lot of movement there. And if you're looking at 7, 8, 9, 10 there, you're talking about 910 points, 780, 760, 740, 720. If a country down there in the range of 7th through, hell, even 20th, 21st place has a good number on fourth place votes and fifth place votes, they can easily move up into the top 10. But before we move on to that, let's show our work again. Armenia and Denmark tied at the top. You can see Denmark doing extremely well on third place votes, getting 1,440 points, just like Latvia, to move into a tie with Armenia for that 12 points. So, hey, you know what? This is fun. So let's go one more round. We're going to remind you again one more time of what the points look like through 3 rounds of ranked choice voting here. So we're going to zero out the board again. And now the fourth place votes are going to come in a second. Remember, all of these are going to be now worth 7 points each. So the board has been cleared, and here are the fourth place votes. Armenia getting 100. Actually, the country in this simulation here that got the most was Lithuania. They got 110 of them. So that's going to be 770 points because 110 times 7 is 770. And then Armenia is going to get 700 points out of that and on down the list. So now, total it all up. Here are the points through 4 rounds. And Armenia back out in front. They're at 5,000 points even. Denmark is in second. Latvia right behind them in third. Albania in fourth. And Lithuania in fifth. And you can see San Marino wasn't in here, but now they are. Because they had a good round there, they actually moved up into the top 10 and would get 1 point. So one more time, we're going to show you the screen where we show our work. Armenia adding 700 points to the pile there at 5,000. Lithuania doing the best there, and it's pretty easy. You just have to add up all 4 of those points columns, and you get the result here. And, of course, you could continue going. You could do 5th place votes. You could do 6th place votes. But just keep in mind the values are going to get progressively smaller as we go on. So it would take more and more of a heavy percentage to influence the results. Now, 5th place votes might actually influence somewhat because 6 points is nothing to sneeze at, and even 5 points, especially if you get a lot of them. But then once you start getting down into the 7th place votes, 4 points per vote, and then 3 points per vote, unless you're getting a very large number of them, 30, 40, 50%, it's probably not going to affect your bottom line that much at that point. So if there was ever a time when this system came into being, they might ask you only to rank your top 5, and they would only go 5 rounds in assigning points, because once you get to a certain point, it's not going to probably make that much of a difference. So based on the 4 rounds that we did, we're going to stop the simulation there. This is the points allocation in the televote in this fictional country that we've created. Armenia, despite the fact that they came in second in first place votes, they're going to get the deuce point. Denmark is in second, they get 10. And then Latvia, who got the most first place votes, actually came in third. So now what we're going to do is we're going to compare these numbers from the ranked choice simulation to the traditional televote. So if you want to ask the question, can the outcome change if you do a ranked choice system? Well, based on the random numbers we drew, the answer is yeah, it actually can. Will it affect it that much? Maybe not. But if you wanted to know the answer to the question, could it change? Yes, it absolutely could. Armenia got 10 points in the traditional simulation, but they got deuce point in the second. Latvia would have gotten 12, but they only ended up with 8. Then a lot of them, they're off by maybe 1 or 2 at most. So now that we've gone through the simulations, let's talk a little bit about the pros and cons of each. So let's start with a pro. A pro of this system, let me just start with a critique. Some people might say that under the current televote system, first past the post, people can spend their 20 votes however they want. They can scatter them amongst different countries. So some people might ask, well, isn't doing ranked choice voting just the same thing as people sprinkling 5 votes here, 3 votes there, 2 votes there? Well, I mean, not really. I'll say yes and no. Yes, because I guess technically you can do that now. And no, because the point values are different. And the system would mandate you voting for more than one country, technically, assigning first, second, third, and so forth. Let's be honest, too. There are probably a fair number of people out there who do throw some bones to each country as they see fit with however many votes they want to cast. But there are also a lot of people who don't. There are a lot of people who are going to get on that app or that website or whatever. They're going to select 20 votes for whatever country they feel like, plunk it down, pull out your credit card, that's it, have a nice day. So the pro of this system then is that this would require, I guess, a little bit more of a fair representation of how televoters out there actually feel about different songs. It's saying that you can't throw all of your votes on one country and in one pile. You have to pick a second place. You have to pick a third place. You have to pick a fourth place, so on and so forth. So you can give all of your first place votes to one country, but you also are required to give other countries some credit as well. So the next point I'm going to call both a pro and a con, but we'll start with the pro side. The system does affect the results, but not really all that much. I'll call this a pro because it prioritizes the countries that are doing consistently well across the top 5 of people's ballots. If a country, for example, like in this simulation, gets the most first place votes, maybe not by a huge margin, but they don't do well in second, they don't do well in third, they don't do well in fourth, then that country is going to probably do worse than a country that might not have come in first in all of those categories, but did consistently well. Now, the con of this is that at the end of the day, like, these really weren't huge shifts. There definitely were shifts, but they weren't huge shifts. So some people might wonder, why even bother doing something like this at all? I personally think it has some value, but some people might say, well, if it's only going to change the outcome a little bit, then what's the point? Then we do have 2 more cons here. One con is that it is a more complex system. It will require some changes, obviously, to the voting system. People might not go for it. And hell, the EBU might not go for it. They might just say, this is too much. We're just going to stick to what we know. And then one more con that I have here is that if you feel that the current televote system out there is open and susceptible to manipulation, then any groups out there that want to manipulate the televote to their favor will probably find a way to do it at some point. It might not be right away, but this isn't a bulletproof system. It is not a magic elixir. It's not going to fix everything. It is a reform that is potentially worth trying. It's at least worth examining. But if you feel that televotes are easily manipulated, then at some point someone's going to figure out how to do tactical voting with this too. It would just be a matter of time. So that's it. That's our look at the ranked choice voting system. Will we ever see this at Eurovision? Who is to say? But what I do know is that for more on the Eurovision Song Contest, you can go to theEuroYard.com, follow us on Blue Sky at theEuroYard.com, and subscribe to this YouTube channel.